This is a Power 98.7 podcast. Now we're talking. Subscribe to Power 98.7 podcasts in iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. There's more on power987.co.za.
It's 9 minutes past the hour of 10 o'clock. This is the Thursday edition of Power Talk, and it is our leadership dialogue session. We're telling you about a story that ultimately began 57 years ago with a dream by doyens of African business, Dr. Sam Motsuenyane and Dr. Richard Maponya, who believed intrinsically in the ingenuity power and ability of black people to do something different, no matter the circumstances around them, to engender a class of black entrepreneurs, black industrialists, able black people to chart a destiny for themselves. I'm talking about African Bank. At almost 29 billion rands in assets, this bank has the potential to act as a catalyst for change in South Africa. It can create products that help the so-called missing middle. You, the parents who are ready to send your children to university but just need that top up on the fees, whilst also bringing in many people who previously have been unbanked into the formal financial system. But for things to change, the leadership needs to be deliberate and intentional about what change means. And that entails creating a platform for young Africans, for entrepreneurs, and hardworking, aspirational South Africans to find the financial products that not only suit their pocket and lifestyle, but help to elevate them to a new level. Social mobility. G Bungane is the new CEO. Well, new after being at the helm for just over a year. Is that new, Kennedy? And he's been telling the market to watch this space. African Bank can be a game changer in a country desperately in need of game changers. And G Bungane, our leadership dialogue for the day, people are looking to you to see if finally the thing that changes the game for African Bank has come. Has it?
Well, good morning, Lerato, and thank you so much for a beautiful introduction. I want to tell just a short story because you've touched on it. I was lucky 2 weeks after joining in April last year to be invited to a meeting with Dr. Sam Motsuenyane in Winterveld, north of Pretoria. He's 95 now, and received me in his home and took not less than 55 minutes to tell me the story that happened that 48 years ago in Soweto. How black businessmen and women gathered from all over the country to launch NAFCOC. And that one of their first resolutions taken unanimously was that they needed, as entrepreneurs, as emerging business, they needed a bank. A bank that would be their own. Feel like it's there for them. A bank that would seek to understand their businesses, their aspirations, and not just take their money, but also support them, grow with them, invest with them, and invest in them. A bank that would address the things that you've just identified as things that would really unlock the potential of this economy. As we all know, the most successful countries in the world have got SMMEs and SMEs that are over 65% of contributors to the GDP. They create employment like none of the conglomerates can. They really fuel GDP growth. And this is what they dreamt of. This is beyond and before BEE. This is in the deep, dark age of, it was actually the height of apartheid.
1965.
And these guys had the audacity to believe that they could do it themselves. And it is that audacity Lerato, that inspires this generation of African bank leaders. That audacity to believe.
Is that why you chose it as a mantra?
That's why we chose it as a mantra, because we've tapped into that heritage. We've tapped into that story, which is really into the veins of what makes this bank, from its highs and its many lows.
Yeah.
A bank that's so resilient, that continues to enjoy the patronage of millions of customers. A bank that is growing and seeks to do things differently. A bank for the people, by the people, serving the people.
So when you sat in his home with the founding father of the bank, and a 95 years old, lucid and crisp, and said to you, this was my dream, this is my hard work, this is my legacy, and I'm handing over the baton to you. Did it land? I say that to my team, and they're like, what do you mean when you say did it land? But did that message really not just resonate with you, but did that instruction sit on your soul and rest?
Oh wow, it's landed. It's sitting not just on my soul, but it's inspired us to think hard about what it means to be audacious in banking today, what it means to be audacious in creating a customer-centric, digital, data-enabled business that is diverse, that is scalable, that is sustainable, that can be there for our people. It has landed not just to me, but it's landed to our board, it's landed to the thousands of African bankers. They know that we cannot afford to be like any other bank. We're not competing with anybody else. We are competing against this huge endowment that Dr. Maponya, Dr. Mtswenyane, and those clever blacks instruct us today to become in South Africa.
Clever blacks is a bit of a swear word. Is it still a swear word?
Oh no, but these guys were
and I'm being facetious.
Visionaries. Were even back then, ahead of their time.
Are you one?
Beggars?
Are you a clever black?
Oh yeah, clever. Clever as bouquet.
I like that. No, I was just being facetious. Okay, so we understand now, Kennedy Bungane, what's motivating you. What is the ethos that's got to drive you and what you're trying to do? And we can see it. I mean, you are throwing everything at it. There are TV ads, radio spots, there are billboards everywhere. You're going for it. But there's good PR and then there's getting the work done. Now that you've understood your mission and you've drafted your strategy, and it reflects, by the way, because the numbers have turned around from a deficit to surplus, from a lack of profitability and debt to profitability, all in a year. Actually, how did you get that right? In a year?
Well, we went away after this conversation I've just referred to with Dr. Mtswenyane and thought long and hard about the strategy that we need to put in place in order for us to really get to that place by 2025 of scalable, diversified, and sustainable bank. And we said there are two things that we've got to do. Firstly, we've got to strengthen the core of this business. That is within existing capabilities, products, distribution network. There are four things we knew we needed to get right. The first one was to digitize our end-to-end customer journeys. So look at the pain points that our customers have, whether in calling us or going to our app or going to our branches. What are those pain points? How do we fix that journey but also digitize it as much as we can? Secondly, we knew that we needed to invest in our IT, the IT stability, the speed of delivery, but also security. We needed to get that right. I mean, you've seen, Lerato, what not just domestically but globally IT instability can do to a banking experience. Thirdly, we needed to transform our sales processes. So African bankers are very good at lending. At selling loans. We needed to train them and cross-skill them so that we can deploy much better a full suite of services to our customers, including transactional banking, savings, investments, and in strengthening the core, we also knew that we needed to get the interface of our hybrid distribution model well. So we are unashamedly promoting our digital channel. We've just doubled, in fact, in the last 6 months, how many times the uptake on digital. But we also have 402 branches and a direct sales that we want to optimize and how it works. So that was strengthening the core. That is what we needed to get right. I reported, Lerato, that in our half-year results, we have achieved over 145% increase in net profits, and it was largely around this strengthening of the core.
Basics right.
Get the basics right.
So you are moving the bank into a new digital era, and a process that, to be fair, that had begun with your predecessor, but just consolidating that. But what is going to make your value proposition different? Because when we look around, everybody now is transitioning to a platform business. Every bank is migrating online. So what makes you different?
Well, it's good that you asked the question. Our unique selling proposition really stems from our heritage and the strengths of this business. We're lucky in that because we post curatorship, we don't have too much of an IT legacy system. We've adopted an omni-channel platform that enables our customers to start a journey with us on the phone and can end it, on their smart or on call with us or in walking in without getting off the system. So this omni-channel platform is actually an advantage for us. We've got a unique set of products and services that allow us to build what we call an alliances ecosystem around what we offer our customers. So we don't just want to offer a loan for that student to get accepted at varsity. We want to create an ecosystem in interfacing with us to actually take that student from home to campus, from home to Reins, and it's all of these additional services coming not just from our capability, but from telcos, from fintechs, from value-added service providers that we attract into our space and make available for our customers. That is how we differentiate ourselves in the market.
Okay, so when you say, post-curatorship, you don't have this legacy infrastructure, what you're basically saying is many other banks, your competitors, would have already had, huge, what do they call them? Digital channels. There's a word I'm looking for. We have it in television. What do they call that box back there? A server room. They would have had huge server. They would have had huge server rooms because they would have tried something before, and now they've got to justify that capex. So they're going to try to work with that system, fix it. You're building something brand new.
Oh, Lerato, you've got your finger on the pulse. So, having been a banker for, I'm not going to expose my age, for a long time. One of the worst things that you can take on as a bank, as a CEO of a bank, is your core banking system. Because it is what you've just referred to. It is expensive. It takes many years to build, and every time you can only just tweak it so that you don't break it. It is an oil tanker that to turn it just takes a long time. That is the engine room of what a bank does. Now the race to become a bank as a service and a banking platform is going to be worn by those people who can turn that core bank system fast enough to allow for APIs, to allow for partnering, with telcos, with fintech service providers, to hook into that core banking system fast enough and efficiently and cost effectively. Now, we think we've got a little bit of an advantage here because we do not have that expensive core bank system, and that is why we've been able to move fast in getting partnerships done with telcos and other retail service providers. I like to say we are small enough not to have big egos, not to have big legacy issues, but we are also of good size, not to be irrelevant or to be wished away.
It's a beautiful thing to sort of be building from an empty shell, a blank canvas. Make of it what you will. And in a digital era, it makes you nimble, it makes you versatile. Okay, you're saying that's a strength, but here's the challenge.
And maybe I should just say something about that as well. We've spoken about core banking as an either a headline enabler. Yeah. There's also a thing of culture there.
Okay.
So part of the reason why we've gone back to our heritage is to find this essence of what the Mitswenyanes wanted to build. They wanted to build a bank yabantu, enobuntu, a bank with the sense of familiarity and humility that people can relate to. It is an advantage, Lerato, even in dealing with service providers. We take that culture, we take that attitude with us when we deal with service providers and potential partners, and we find that generally people like working with people they like.
Let's talk about that. A bank enobuntu as an underlying kind of value system. So you're moving now into this new tech era. You can do it because you don't have this heavy infrastructure from the past that's weighing you down. But here's the thing. 8% of the loans that you've been able to sell on this platform have been done digitally. Everybody else still wants to come into the branch.
That's right.
So how are you going to help your customers embrace technology and not be afraid of this digital future that is going to make you more nimble and agile? How are you going to bring your customers along this journey? Because research shows only 8% are willing to try this out. Everybody else still wants to come to the branch.
So two things about that. Firstly, you're right, it's 8%. But if you look beyond the percentage, the actual number is doubled. It's just that the denominator is that we're selling that much more.
Okay.
So it's a good sign. Secondly, it is in the fourth point I made, fourth strategic theme around our strengthening the core. It is this idea that I suggested was a deliberate choice to, it's all fashionable that everybody's going digital first on everything, and that's the future. But we've made a deliberate decision that our digital, our direct sales, and our branch distribution network must work in concert, must work together. And so what we're doing is that if you do want to go into a branch and sit across someone, touch blood and eyeball them, you know what? We enable that. We're investing significantly into our branch network, refreshing them, but also transforming them into proper platforms. So I want more products over and above just banking products into our branch, so that you can go in there and also interact with our partners in that same branch. You don't have to go into the branch and get a card and move up elsewhere to go and top up your prepaid airtime or data. You should be able to do all of it in there.
So Gogzlamini can load the app and then say, Angiyazi lento, go to the branch and say, Kennedy mdanam, fix it for me, umloadele kahle. And then in it, she can see how to transact and go home and feel comfortable.
Exactly.
Oh.
That is the plan. That is what we're working on.
Okay. Another new addition is business banking. You've always argued that there isn't enough of that at African Bank, and that's a key pillar of what the bank ought to be doing. So
back onto that conversation in Ritterfeld. I was reminded that this bank was started by businessmen and women.
Yeah.
I was reminded that it was started to support business.
Yeah.
And that over the last almost 3 decades, it had focused on retail is only half of the story. Mm-hmm. And that is why, over and above strengthening the core, we took a deliberate decision to expand the core. Expand it via alliances ecosystems, but expand it via entering business banking, supporting, finding ways of changing the game for SMEs. Our acquisition of Green Red Bank is a step in that direction. It fast tracks our re-entry as African Bank into commercial, corporate, and SMME markets. I wrote a letter co-signed with my chairman to Dr. Semutsonyane last week to say, Ndade, Banka ya hao is back at supporting business again.
We're in conversation with Kennedy Bungane, the 1-year-old CEO of African Bank, certainly a much bigger career in banking than 1 year, but definitely in that year turned around the fortunes of a bank that had been in curatorship under the stewardship of the South African Reserve Bank that didn't look like it had a promising future. He has not only set it back into profitability, he is moving it into the digital era, doing it with a very nimble kind of digital infrastructure and footprint acquisitions to make sure that they have the capacity to provide all the new generation entrepreneurs and future black industrialists support. When we come back, we're asking Kennedy Bungane, what does transformation mean to you? I'll let you think about it as we go to the news.
Power Talk with Lerato Mbele. Power Talk, the leadership dialogue.
Absolutely. A leadership dialogue with none other than Kennedy Bungane, banker extraordinaire, a career that has seen him working at Barclays, running Barclays Africa. I think he's a Standard banker as well. And now he is running African Bank with the mandate to empower the black middle class, the black mercantile class, a new generation of black businessmen and women. And just to that end, many of you have been sending through your comments via our Twitter platform at PowerFM987, tagging me as well at Mbele_LNB. So the first one is Itumeleng Mohosana, who says, Queen of Hearts. I love it when you guys call me that. Yes, Queen of Hearts. There's a song you played during the first hour of the show. It's beautiful. Name of the artist and name of the song, please. The name of the artist is Somi. She is Rwandan Ugandan, based in the United States. And the song is Ginger Me Slow. Ginger, like ginger ewenwang, but ginger me slow. Basically, it's about how a man can just take care of a woman in a beautiful way. So that's that issue there. And we will play it again at the end of the show because quite a few of you want to know what that song is. So we're going to do you that favor. Raikwana says, okay, now, that's a guest worth listening to, Lerato. Thank you. Keep up the standards, please, in capital letters. Kennedy Bungane is a standard, so don't ever drop them. We won't drop them. Okay, Kennedy Bungane, many people are quite happy with your presence here today, it seems. We also get a comment that says, can you please organize an interview with Ndate Musiwa Lekota? What do you think, Julius Malema? Do we need time here on Power 98.7? This is something else altogether, guys. You know what? Buffalo Bill, trading, money, mattresses. I see Kolapo right now. Socrates says, please play your intro song. Yes, we're going to do it. And then he says, let's all support African Bank. Loving the conversation. Freddie Leswalo says, how do we get a hold of Kennedy at African Bank? And Africa says, why is it difficult for black businesses like African Bank, for example, to have a competitive edge over their white counterparts? Why always struggle with governance and compliance issues? Recent curatorship is a case in point. Let's get into it. Kennedy, you're only there a year, brought it back to profitability, a vision to make a platform business of this, digitize it, but you got some big boys you're up against.
That's very true. The South African banking sector is world-class, Lerato. You go back since the global financial crisis in 2009.
Yeah.
There hasn't been independent analysis that rates our sector outside of the top 3 in the world in terms of governance, in terms of technology, in terms of innovation. the South African banking system is really up there with the best. And that's got great advantages. It means we've got very good people, and I'm lucky that we've been able to attract some of those best resources into the bank, and so some of the issues that the Twitter you've just referred to is addressed by that. You just get the best in class people, and then you don't have to worry about the ball being dropped. And the South African banking sector allows you to get the best in class. But secondly, and this is around why we've got this audacity to believe that we can win. As damn good as the banking sector in South Africa is, there remains a very loud and clear cry from communities, from households, from businessmen and women with small, medium, and large enterprises that says and the cry also comes even from government, the ruling class, and calling for a state bank and all of that. It's all an expression of a frustration that there is something that is not done well. There's a gap that is not being met. There's a need that's not being serviced or underserviced, and that is the space African Bank wants to play in. So I don't even see myself as competing with the big boys, as you've referred to them. I see us closing that niche, that underserved market, that gap that is left this time.
Anyway, you would know some of their trade secrets, having been at the highest of executive levels in some of these big four banks. Ntokozo says, Lerato, there are some smart children of the soil in this country, not dunderhead politicians and trade unionists who get airtime. I'm convinced now to open a business bank account with African Bank for a start, he says. I'm just reading the tweet. But I think you've just mentioned something, and I want to move away from kind of the granular issues of banking. But you know, when you say the South African banking sector is best in class, it is. It complies with many international protocols, Basel regulations on capital adequacy ratios, liquidity ratios. And this is why the banking sector in South Africa has survived many international shocks and crises, subprime, etc. Bar African Bank, it hasn't been able to do some of those things, like build sufficient reserves, capital adequacy. You come in now and you've got to introduce those best practices. But what are some of the difficulties you confront being a smaller player in this industry?
Well, I mean, I'm lucky that I've been around for a while, okay, and so can address some of our selective memories around this. I mean, Absa is a great bank, but it had a similar situation in the early 90s. Nedbank is a great bank. It had a similar situation with BOE in early 2000s. You know, you can go on and on. It's unfair to just remember that it's African Bank that had a curatorship in you know, and the lessons from all of these low lights is that you gotta do things properly. You know, you've gotta have proper capital. You've got to be prudent in how you deploy it. You've got to guard your balance sheet, and that's why I'm bringing in scale and I talk of sustainability. You've got to watch your liquidity. Banks should never run out of cash, you know, and do the basics right. Get the right people in place, get the right processes in place, set up your governance structures correctly, and that's what we've done. So, Lerato, you'll recall that in the last, well, in fact, in the first year of my tenure here, this is my 16th month, we've reinforced the team with my ex-golf 10 people, 6 well-experienced top-notch executives to reinforce my top table. We've had our board add another 5 or so, again, well-experienced independent experts to provide oversight. That goes through the entire organization. That's what we've done in just about every layer. We've had 145 colleagues join us in the last 6 months throughout the organization. So we're winning the war on talent, but it's the right critical skills that actually make this work. Banking, we spoke about core banking, we spoke about systems, etc. But banking is, at the end of the day, about people. And we are lucky that we're getting those. And a shout out to every banker out there who's top of his and her game, who believes in making banking different in this country. Shout out to them, and you know how to get hold of us. African Bank is a place to be.
Oh, that's just a free ad there on Power Talk. But your team is also very young, and I think that not very young, but they're young South Africans with fresh thinking, and I think that also plays to your potential strength.
It is young in attitude, it is young in approach, it is young of heart, whatever age they are. And what I've done, Lerato, is that I've also brought in people with, 30, 40-year experience who believe in what we believe in, who can actually mentor and groom and grow our much younger talent as well, and so ensure that we're building a bank that's got a strong bench strength and can sustain what we do beyond just the short term.
And a good generational mix. Let's just talk about the operating environment in South Africa and who your core customer is. They're black, they're working class, they're middle class. But that's also said to be the most indebted consumer in South Africa. And one of the reasons why we see delinquencies, people who can't service their loans, their mortgages, etc., is because, this is the most vulnerable sector of or segment of the population who would be the first to be retrenched when there's a COVID-19 pandemic or affected by a lockdown, who are on one salary, are carrying many members of a family and an extended family, prone to black tax, as it's called, who are raising children on a single income in a family. And so it's not because black people are just generally irresponsible with money. They're just weighed down a lot. And you can't, as a bank say, we'll change the terms of your loan agreement or the interest rates as set by the South African Reserve Bank and then adapt it to us. But how do you consider who that customer is?
So Lerato, it's been tough. The operating environment in this country has been tough. Firstly, it was COVID, and we know what that did to entrepreneurs, to businesses. We know what that did to household disposable income. What we did at the time was to ensure that we are not reckless. My predecessors were brilliant in putting in place measures that would allow for us to continue to support our customers. We're not just a sunshine banker, but do so responsibly. Do so that they can come up. I'm glad that we've been able, post the fourth wave, to open up a little bit more and help them come out of this period. The GDP in South Africa was minus 6.4% in 2020. It went up to 4.6% last year. That helped build up economic activity, and so we're delighted to be back. And the numbers that I've just referred to, by the way, kind of speak to that. We now are facing another crisis with the Ukraine-Russia situation and the impact on food inflation, impact on fuel, and our customers are, impacted by these maybe more disproportionately than many. We're watching that space. We've provisioned properly to make sure that the bank is safe and secure, but also on how to then support our customers come through this period of time. What I have found really encouraging about our customers is this resilience. We back our customers. If there's retrenchment, if there's inability to meet obligations, we are a bank that will say, talk to us. Let's see how we can help. Let's see what breaks, what measures we can take into account so that you've got the wherewithal to wake up and fight another day and be here with us. This is how you build a franchise, and this is why we are here and playing the role that we do play. We don't just bank black people, we bank all people. We are African bank. We are a bank that is there for you, whether you are parents seeking to take your kids to school, extend that home, buy another franchise for your business. We are that bank that will support you through these times.
Willing to walk a mile with you. We're in conversation with Kennedy Bungane.
Power Talk with Lerato Mbele. Power Talk, the leadership dialogue.
We're in a leadership dialogue with Kennedy Bungane, who is the CEO of African Bank, Bank for All People, he says, and he's been in the role for 16 months. You'll know Kennedy Bungane. He has been a consummate banker across many platforms, from Standard Bank to Barclays and and then ABSA, and he led their African division. So he's been in the game, and he's ready to transform African Bank. When I say to you transformation, what comes to mind?
So, Lerato, it's almost 20 years since a group of us drafted, it's actually one of 10 guys who did the drafting of the Financial Sector Charter.
Yeah.
It was a charter that described what we thought transformation should look like in this country and in banking. We spoke about levels of black management, women management, levels of human resource development and upskilling that needed to be done, particularly for black people. We spoke about procurement of services to small, medium enterprises, women-owned businesses. We spoke about financing of empowerment. We spoke about CSI. 7 pillars that defined transformation as we thought needed to be done. Almost 2 decades later, just about every bank in this country is a broad-based BEE level 1 in terms of transformation. So there's been a lot of progress done, and big ups, to that effort. In fact, the Financial Sector Charter was the first charter to be that detailed in describing what transformation would look like. That said, though, and I'm not taking away from the progress made, what I think is now the phase for transformation for us is making sure that you can have black managers and women managers. You can have all of this diversity taking place, but their services and their products, do they actually address the needs of our people? Do they address the entrepreneur who is setting up Ishisanyama at the corner of the street? Does it address the need of emerging businesses out there? And that for me is the soft part of transformation that is missed by just a scorecard tick type that we've had for the last 2 decades. I
want to quote Rural Khoza, paying tribute to the doyen of business, Dr. Sam Mutswenyane, quoting from Dr. Mutswenyane's earlier speeches where he admonished black business leaders, and he said, "You could choose to believe in financial alchemy, the belief that through some pseudo-economic process, such as sophisticated financial engineering, you can turn blackness in and of itself into gold. Or you could choose to invest in the development and employment of the necessary strategic and technical capabilities and in the intellectual capacity. So for me, I read this and I think, okay, long time ago, somebody was thinking about what transformation looks like, long before we even heard the terms black economic empowerment. And it wasn't financial engineering.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't codes. It was building legacy businesses in the township economy that empower women and men, the black intelligentsia, putting money into black schools, African schools, building that intellectual capacity. Why do you think we've lost that momentum?
Well, I think the challenge that we've had is that the likes of African Bank have not been at their potential. We need to go beyond just BEE. We need to go beyond just scorecards. We need our people designing solutions for our people. It's difficult to be better than ourselves. Nobody can be better than ourselves. And at African Bank, what we're doing is bringing the best brains, is bringing the best capability, supporting it with our resources to make sure that it can solution uniquely for our people. That, for me, is what will bring about the kind of transformation that is now needed.
Okay, we've got a call on the line. Mina in Pretoria East. You'd like to say something to Kennedy Bungane?
Thank you, Queen of Hearts. These are the topics we would like to hear. And thank you, Bongani. I hear everything that you are saying. I'm even hearing what you are not saying. Lerato, I always say, if Africans were allowed to set up corporates, they probably would not be set up the way they are. So what Bongani has to know, and I think he does, is that African Bank cannot run as a corporate that always excludes Africans and their principles of Ubuntu. The last point for me is I've seen many a times, you also can look at a model in Germany. When you begin to awaken people, awaken Africans, you become a target.
Yeah.
So many people like you don't live long because you are bringing a massive change.
Yeah.
So look after yourself. Let other people look after you as well.
Oh, thank you.
And continue. I really appreciate. I'm very comforted by what I hear. Thank you.
Thank you, Mina. Thabo and Mamelodi, hello.
Morning, Lerato, great show again. I'm very much impressed. You know, we've been facing discrimination in white banks where our assets are being taken.
Yeah.
You know, where there's no negotiation whatsoever.
Yeah.
I'm glad that your guest there has good systems in place so that they make sure that they don't even lose money, but
you.
they can make money. But in the process, make sure that we empower black people,
Absolutely.
and then just to make sure that our business are running smoothly. We have the buying power, and your bank, I guarantee you, Mr. Bongane, it will grow.
Thank you.
Madam.
Thanks, Thabo. And as we close off this conversation with Kennedy Bungane, I'll read two tweets and ask the question on the back of it. Paula says, hi, Lerato. The reality is that SMMEs are crying out for funding and the banking sector has not been friendly to the sector. How is African Bank penetrating the sector so that we really put a dent on unemployment in South Africa? And then the real bra Makabaza says, this interview just took me back to 2010, 2011 in my early days in corporate treasury, working for a CFA called Bernd Schwendker. We had many engagements with Ndate KGB. Anyway, I'm encouraged by the statement, our own solutions for our own problems. So on the back of that, SME development, denting unemployment, our own solutions. What do you hope your legacy will be?
So I'm grateful to the callers. Thank you for those messages. They resonate strongly with me. I'm hoping that my legacy would be to continue the audacity to believe in our people, audacity to believe that a bank can actually enhance lives by being relevant, by being empathetic in understanding the needs of an entrepreneur, the needs of our businesses, and how we can support them. I really would be happy to look back and see a bank that people feel is their bank, feels it is for them, and it is here to back them. We would have succeeded if we made that dream come true, because that is the instruction really from Dr. Mtswenyane, from the Maponyas, from that generation of visionaries who knew we could do better if we built a bank for the people in this country. That's what we're working on, African Bank.
Do better, be better, and be the change you want to see. Kennedy Bungane, CEO, African Bank.
You've been listening to a Power 98.7 podcast. For more podcasts, visit power987.co.za or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.